Hi there, thanks for joining me again. My name is Shabna Makrami. I will be conducting a free session on consultations. We have a few inquiries, questions that I will kind of read out and answer, and hopefully that will help the group. If you do have questions related to this after the session, you're more than welcome to give us a call. The phone number is at the bottom of the screen. You can also email us at info@thevisa.ca. I highly encourage that you send your questions in advance, so this way I get some time to review it and also time to discuss your questions. If you send them while the session is going on, it not only can it be a little bit distracting, but at the same time, you might not get, I might not get to your question in time. So let's get right into it. So the first client has requested or stated, I'm outside Canada and just realized my PR card has expired. Can I apply for ETA? I'm a UE citizen. So again, as I said in my last session, sometimes a question may seem simple, but there's a whole lot more information I need to be able to provide sound advice. So for example, this applicant is saying that he or she's outside of Canada and just realized the PR card is expired. So the first thing I would have to know is, do you even meet the residency requirements? Have you been in the country long enough to get your PR card renewed, or you don't have the residency? And that answer is very critical to the type of advice you will get. Assuming that you do meet the residency requirement, you might want to try a travel document. If you don't meet the residency applications, it's a completely different game. It's permanent residency card renewal with humanitarian and compassionate arguments. So applying for an ETA, no, you won't be eligible for that, because ETA is for people who are not permanent resident and Canadian citizen. So if you apply for the ETA, the officer is going to reply back to you and say, okay, sign this paper renouncing your permanent residency status, which would not be ideal. So it's a more complicated situation than you think. It's not as easy. Assuming you meet the residency requirements, you might want to apply for a travel document, and if you don't, it's permanent residency with H&C arguments. So I hope that answered your question. Another client is asking, my wife is on a study permit and I'm on a work permit. Can I extend my work permit when her study permit expires? So yes, so for the validity of her studies in Canada, you would be able to extend your stay. You're kind of tagging along with her. So when she applies for the study permit extension, then you will apply for the open spousal work permit as well. Let's assume her study permit is done, or her studies in Canada is done, then she most likely is going to apply for a post-grad work permit, and then you can also apply for the open work permit. So you ultimately tag along with whatever application she's applying for, because she's the main applicant. We have another client who's asking, can I travel to Canada without my passport? So again, be careful when you're asking a question, you got to give me more details. Depends what your country of citizenship is. Depends where you're coming from. Are you coming through a land crossing? Are you coming via air? So all of these answers I need to these questions, otherwise it's going to be maybe. So I don't know where you're coming from. If you are from a visa exempt country, you know what, it really doesn't matter where you're coming from. Everyone needs a passport to travel to Canada. The only one that may be exempt is when you have an enhanced driver's license for an American citizen. But everyone else, you need a passport, or how else would you end up in a plane to travel to Canada? So the airlines won't let you board. So assuming that kind of covers your question, it's always best to have a passport before you book your flights. Another client is asking, what will be the average points for draws this summer for express entry? That's unknown. Express entry is relatively new. It's probably been about 8 years old, or maybe 10 years old. So in the immigration field, that's quite new. It's based on a draw. It's based on how many applications go in And I've mentioned this in my past conversations with you guys, that it goes into something called a pool. And let's say in this pool there's 200 applications, they take the average of that pool. And so depending on what that average is, that would be the draw. And the average, again, is just simple math. If it's 200 applicants and they score, one scores 100, the other one scores 50, the other one scores 450, they take the average of that pool and then a number is given. So nobody knows what the number is going to be. But once the first couple of draws are made, so let's say the first 3 draws are made, then you can kind of do a guessing game of what most likely will be next draw. But in this particular draw, it's really uncertain. It's always safe for a CEC application to be under 450 plus points. For an FSW, you're probably wanting to be 460 plus points. So again, we don't know, because it's been locked for several months, the points may be lower, but we'll soon find out in July. But 450 plus points is a safe understanding that you most likely will get a draw, if not the first month when it opens up, very soon. Another client is asking, I'm currently in Afghanistan, having no facility to leave the country. What's the easiest way for me to get to Canada? That's a very, very complicated matter, in the sense that because Afghanistan right now is in war and consulates are no longer operating, everything is closed, police stations are closed for police clearances, biometric centers are closed, it is very difficult. So it's not, all I know here is that you're an Afghan citizen and you want to get out. In order for me to advise you as to what may be options for you, I would need far more information. I would need to know your education. I would need to know if you have family here, if you have a United Nations card, which country has provided that to you, etc. Do you have family to sponsor you through the Group of 5? Have you been accepted through a refugee program of any sort? There's far more details that I would need to guide you through it. Assuming all of those questions, the answers is no, then you'd have to apply just like everybody else to any other routes. Currently, Afghanistan specifically does not have a route to directly apply like Ukraine does. So you are to apply like every other applicant, whether that's visitor visa, study permit, Group of 5, whatever application is available to everyone else around the world. Those are the types of applications that you'd have to look at and see which one you're eligible for. Ukraine is different. They have special programs for Ukraine. For Afghanistan, there was some special programs and they kind of closed it around August or September of 2021. My personal opinion is that they were never good anyways, but it is what it is, and now you have to be eligible under the regular program. So review the website, see what you are eligible for, and then send me your details, and then we can have that discussion. Another client is asking, I'm a permanent resident. My brother and his wife are from Uganda. He's an engineer and she's a teacher. I want to sponsor them to come to Canada. What are your fees and documents? So you can't really sponsor them. You can only do a family sponsorship if it's your wife, your husband, orphan children, dependent children, so forth. But you can't really sponsor your brother and his wife. So they would have to look at their own options. They would have to look at express entry and see if they're eligible for that. They would have to see, it says here that they're an engineer and teacher, so I'm assuming they're not self-employed. But if they are, you might want to look at the self-employed category. They may be able to open up a business here. If you are self-employed, the way you can potentially sponsor them is as their employer. So there is options available, but not about you doing a direct brother sponsorship. That would not work. The only way you would be able to sponsor a relative is if you truly have no relatives of your own inside Canada or outside of Canada. So you don't have a wife, you don't have children, you don't have parents, you have nobody, and your brother is truly the only living person, and then you might be able to sponsor him through that grounds. Not many people qualify for that type of application because everyone has somebody somewhere around the world, but I've had few clients that truly they were alone in Canada, they don't have anybody else, and there is no one under the family class that they could potentially sponsor either. So therefore they were able to sponsor a brother over the dependent age. So again, look at express entry, look at self-employed, look at employment opportunities. I mean, there's lots of opportunities for either them opening up a company here, or maybe somebody offering them a job, and then they can come through a work permit application. The last one is, I'm a refugee in Canada. Can I apply for a work permit until my case is accepted? And the answer is yes, you can, but you need to, so it depends on how you also submitted the application. In the past, you had to go to an office, like a Etobicoke office, you had to drop off your documents, they would check for completeness. Once your application went in, they would give you a letter, and then that letter, you're able to apply for the work permit. So you do need that confirmation that your application has been accepted. And in that letter, it says now you're eligible to apply for your work permit. And then you can apply for an open work permit based on your refugee. If you have not received that letter, you can contact me. I can check where the application is at. And then we can apply for the open work permit. But yes, refugee applications or applicants are eligible for an open work permit while their application is still in process. So those are the 7 main questions. I mean, we had some other questions. They were kind of in relation to this. So I kind of summarized it and chose the 7 best ones. I will give a few minutes to see if there are any questions, and if there is, again, I will try to answer them for you. Otherwise, you can message us. I can get to them next week when we do the live session, or we can email it to you so long as you provide us with your contact details. So I'm just going to give a few seconds to see if there's any immigration related questions. So I'm seeing here that there are some viewers, but nobody's really messaging. So I'm assuming I did a good job answering your questions. But again, immigration is quite complex, and asking a specific question usually requires more information for me to give you that sound advice. So I'm trying my best to give you as much information as possible without, because I need more to give you the exact answer that you're looking for as to what best way for you to proceed. I'm giving you these answers, but do err at the side of caution, because I don't know your entire situation by you just telling me one sentence in relation to the question you have. Sometimes that answer could be different if I know a little bit more about you. So I'm answering it for you, but it might be a little bit different. So again, the example was, can I travel to Canada without my passport? Kind of depends on your citizenship. Where are you traveling via land, air, a flight, etc. So these types of answers I do need. You can either email us the specifics and then we can give it to you, or just give us a call, whichever one is good for you. So I think that ends our sessions. If there's anything else, I write it down, email it to us, and we will address it next week. Thank you, and until next time.